I come from a family of runners. My grandfather ran into his 90s. My mother is still running in her 60s. My name is Dr. Robin Armstrong. I'm a chiropractor at Willowbrook Chiropractic in Langley. And if you're like me and you want to keep running for a long time, there are a few things that you can start doing today to minimize your risk of injury and prevent you having to take time away from running. The first is add rest days. So that can look like a couple different things. It can either be a complete rest day where you're not doing any other exercise. It can be active rest where you're introducing another sport or activity as cross-training. Or what I encourage you to do is build rest into your overall training schedule. So every 3 to 4 weeks, you have a lighter week. It's either lower mileage or lower intensity, so less speed, and every run is an easy run. Likely if you're following a training program or you have a coach, this is built into your program. But I often find that I come back stronger after these rest weeks. The reason we do this is we want to avoid injury due to overtraining. So signs of overtraining might be fatigue, irritability, delayed onset muscle soreness that's lasting a little longer than you're used to, or these little injuries that just aren't going away. These are signs that maybe you're overtrained and you want to start introducing rest into your schedule. The second one is vary your terrain. Some of us are exclusive road runners or treadmill or track, or maybe you prefer the trail. But whatever it is, you want to try and vary the way that you move and the surfaces that you run on. So if you run on a track and the rules of your track allow it, try running in the opposite direction. So that way you're not always taking the curve in the same way. You're less likely to develop that side of the leg, lateral leg injury that you're prone to with track running. If you're on a treadmill, vary the elevation up and down. So treadmill is great for your knees. Sometimes it puts a bit more strain through the ankles and the Achilles. So changing the angle of the treadmill is going to help with that. If you're a road runner, start noticing the actual pavement that you're running on. So those concrete squares of smooth pavement, that's a little firmer, a little harder than the gravelly looking asphalt. So if you can opt for that, that can be a little softer on your joints, just less force into your body. And maybe you're not a trail runner, but maybe you could find like a groomed trail, so it's still soil and you're not getting as much impact. Trail running is great for our proprioception, so our sense of where we are in space with our feet, so training that. It just leaves you prone to a different type of injury, more, slip and fall or an awkward plant and twist, that type of thing. The bottom line is whatever you're doing, try and mix it up so that your body is not getting into these repetitive strain type injuries. The third one is vary your speed, specifically your leg speed. So if you are training for performance, you likely have speed work as part of your program. If not, I encourage you to try it. It can make your training interesting. But what I want all our runners to think about is our cadence. So this is the number of steps you take per minute, and it's basically your leg turnover. So if you have a watch, it's likely measuring your cadence. If not, you can just set a timer for 20 seconds, count how many steps you actually take, and then multiply that by 3 for your time per minute. And you want to be aiming towards 180 as our ultimate goal. That's what elite runners run at, but more likely 165, 170. So the reason why we want to do this, why it's important, is a higher cadence is linked to a lower risk of injuries. And that's because we're not sort of bounding up so high and therefore not coming down so hard. So we're taking shorter, quicker steps, so there's less force going into our body. We're also less likely to overstride, they call it, take bigger, longer steps, which can lead you prone to injury as well. You don't have to make all your runs about cadence, but I would like you to think about cadence for some portion of each of your runs. And if you have access to a treadmill, a good way to practice it is just set the treadmill for your usual pace, but then try to practice turning your legs over a little faster. So you might find when you're working with cadence, you're not necessarily going to go faster, but your legs are going to be moving faster. I actually find that I become more efficient when I think about my cadence, so I naturally end up going a little faster, but it feels easier, which is a nice bonus. We all want to keep running as long as we can. For some of us, it's our physical fitness, our mental health, our social time. It fills a lot of buckets. So if you implement these 3 strategies today, it's going to go a long way to reducing your risk of injury and continue running into your golden years. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, please feel free to ask myself, Dr. Robin Armstrong. I'm always happy to help.